short meeting.
At the beginning, but they're not going to be here till later.
Yeah,
Right?
that's right. I'm sure that's why they have to do that. You see who's out here to make sure he gets his votes. Derek Boyd. Hey,
I've got 3 items in September 10th minutes
okay,
that are incorrect.
got it.
Christine is sick.
Right,
She can't correct them.
right.
So when we do the minutes, I'm going to move to approve the minutes,
Right.
subject to her making
Got it.
corrections.
Got it.
So just
Sounds good. Thank you. I know we're not legal yet.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're able to be here for tonight.
The good thing is 2.5 years ago when we saw this coming, my sister and I got durable and healthcare power of attorney. She has all of their things online. They have not been declared mentally incompetent, but she's, in other words, like their financial advisor who's in that office right there at UBS. He said they had a client in the upstate that was writing checks for $100,000 a month to them. And they were just taking them. Thank you. I mean, it's bad stuff. So my sister,
Did you
we follow up. Not my parents, but I mean, they following all that stuff. My sister pays all the bills. We have, and they're retired doctors, and they have enough resources. They're not going to outlive their resources, but it just makes you count your blessings, Gina, that I can come down here on their behalf and get them the best care, and money's not an object. What do people do that don't? Just pray.
they stick them at home? They try to find someone to watch them for a couple hours a day.
I mean,
It's really,
you couldn't have.
and now we got the sandwich generation too.
Yes.
Where it's like Asian parents and
And
young
kids.
kids, and it's like next to impossible.
You couldn't, and we were talking about, none of my grandparents, nobody was ever in a nursing home. Nobody. And we figured out either people weren't getting dementia then, or they were cared for at home, they had a fall, and they died. But, I hope my mom will probably live to be 100. She'll be 89, and Daddy will be 90 this spring. Yeah. Are we ready? All right, ready, council members? Good evening. Let me call to order the special town council meeting for Tuesday, November 12th, 2024, our first council meeting after daylight savings time or standard time, whichever we're on. I can't remember, but it will be getting dark. It's good to see everybody here, and I want to say in this meeting what I'll say in the next. Thank you to all of our veterans. I want to thank Councilman Ritchie, the only veteran member of this body, for your service to our country and those that are here. Item number 2 is public comment. If you'd like to make a public comment, please come forward, name and address. 2.5 minutes, please. Anyone for public comment? All right, public comment is closed. Item 3, executive session. Do we have a motion to go into executive session for personnel, consideration of applications for the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee, and 2, consideration of applications to serve on the Recreation Advisory Commission, and B, for legal and contractual, an update on pending litigation, caption Deerline Jr. et al. Versus Commission of Public Works in town of Mount Pleasant. Do I have a motion, please?
So move. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of going into executive session for the reasons stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are in executive session.
Back upstairs.
Let me remind everyone, we do have to come back and do the presentation of the Kevin Williamson Award and recognize the state champ swimming team.
Another great game. I'm not used to 2 great games in a row, 3 great games. The Gamecocks blowing out 3 teams in a row. I hope that's never happened in my lifetime. And they didn't blow him out, but it I'm really doing details and working on stuff. Updating the work plan.
I thought she had him down with her, so yeah. Oh, so now you're just gonna give her up?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, please. Yeah, we can just put them under here. So the animals, I mean, that's what they're bred to do. They like But this movie, it's a real disposal in the dog display there. Everyone knows that's Japanese culture. So Kobe on this Korea ran two Walters is all the room and the drink. So this dog when kids even worse. 2 years ago or something? No, it was so 1925, the Sherman runs, you know, well, yeah, Rowley, but it's a pretty good movie. It's interesting how a lot of people don't get that one dog. They don't know the dog. Really.
Does that work for you? Unless I prefer to do it. That works. Okay, great. Thank you.
We're so proud of him.
Like I said, Ryan, when they start doing their thing, I'll walk you through it, okay? I'll stand up there with you.
I love Jack.
Come to you, and you're gonna follow me. You're gonna follow me. Okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna walk up and go around the table space. We'll line up front. So that'll be everybody along the line. Okay? So, you're gonna keep the whole thing. Okay?
How's it go? Congratulations. But I understand that feeling.
Which part looks like it's moving? I mean, it looks like more stuff. Like, okay. So what do you feel ready to did you get the seat with taking? Right.
Second, thank you.
Oh, me too.
Cold in here.
It is freezing in here. Let me get my head on right. Okay, executive session.
Now I want to eat that whole bowl of candy.
You owe it to yourself. Well, but that was well done. Thank you. You brought some sanity to it. You really, yes. I just was absolutely not going to vote for some people. I was just going to be a no vote because I don't want them on there with my vote. I've done it before when I know it's going to pass, but I go, no, I can't. Are we missing anybody? Gary? Where's Gary? Anybody see Gary? Where's Gary? Gary. The what? Yeah, John's got it. There's Gary. All right, there's Councilman Santos. All right, everyone, let me remind everybody that we have been in executive session for our special town council meeting. During executive session, no action was taken and no votes were cast. Do we have a motion on the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee, please?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Motion to appoint to the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee, Livia Thomas and Monique Semper.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second,
Any discussion?
yes, sir.
Yes.
Could you list the position that each one has
Yes,
been,
thank you.
we're recommending their appointment to?
Yeah,
I think one is hospitality, the
Yeah, it's
other
gonna
is.
take me 2
okay.
seconds, sorry.
I believe.
All right, Livia Thomas is seat number 4, lodging, and Monique Semper is seat number 6, hospitality.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Next, do we have a nomination for appointees to the Recreation Advisory Commission? Mr. Rambo?
Yes. I would like to make a motion that we appoint Gregory Winch, Richard
Wait,
Phillips.
you got to go by seat.
Oh,
number.
I'm going to do that.
Okay.
I'll go seat. Each seat will sit out. Okay. All right. Let me start over. I have a motion to appoint Gregory Winch to seat number 1, Richard Phillips to seat number 2, Greer Hanlon to seat number 3, Greg Hutton to seat number 4, April Gift to seat number 5, Chad Ism to seat number 6, and Derek Conrad to seat number 7.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? please?
Second,
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No,
Those opposed, which ones are no? 1, 2. All right, motion
I
carried.
have 3, just 2.
2.
Thank you.
we're very loud.
But 7-2, the motion carries. And thank you to those who are serving. We appreciate that. Item number 5.
Mayor,
yes.
before we go to that,
Yes.
and I talked to Mr. Rambo about suggesting this when he was making the motion. I think we need to invite those members of the commission who participated so well for several years and helped us get the referendum passed. Invite them to council. Thank them for the work they did and give each one of them a certificate because they did a lot of work. And the passage of that referendum was critical for our children in years to come. So we need to recognize them for the work they did.
We will do that at hopefully our next meeting. All right, item number 5, presentation of the Kevin Williamson Award. Mr. Santos, I believe you're going to take it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to celebrate Kevin's life. I had a chance to meet our recipients, 2 wonderful kids. I can't wait for you to introduce them to you. We're proud to announce this evening the winners of the Mount Pleasant Recreation Department 2024 Kevin Williamson Sportsman of the Year Award. Kevin Williamson thrived in team sports throughout his life. He played many sports while forging meaningful, encouraging friendships with teammates and coaches. He was a lifetime participant in several of Mount Pleasant Recreation's department athletic programs. During his years at Wando High School, he played offensive line for the football team, the sports that always had his heart. He received his varsity letter in the 10th grade and continued to compete during his college career. After college graduation, Kevin returned to the Charleston area. Unfortunately, in 2016, he was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. Despite the prognosis, he continued to persevere, maintain a positive attitude, and live a full life, marrying the love of his life, Lauren, in June of 2017. Sadly, just 22 months after his diagnosis, Kevin Williamson passed away at 28 years of age. Kevin was kind, humble, and courageous. Looking at his life, his love of sports is weaved throughout his story. He was the embodiment of teamwork, determination, hard work, and sportsmanship. In acknowledgement of these attributes, the Kevin Williamson Sportsman of the Year Award recognizes one flag football and one tackle football player annually. The award is not meant for the most skilled player. Rather, it is to honor those displaying sportsmanship, teamwork, love of sport, and competition. Coaches provided written nominations to Mount Pleasant Recreation Department staff. These were reduced to 3 finalists from each group and presented to the Williamson family to determine the award winners. We are joined tonight by Kevin's parents, Mary Louise and Kevin, his brother Patrick, and his girlfriend Brooke Booty. Just as an aside, guys like Kevin don't just come about. They're reared and raised by wonderful people such as Kevin and Mary Louise. So it's with my highest pleasure, Mr. Mayor. Tonight's first recipient is from our flag football division. Please welcome Mila Ferguson, and I hope I'm saying that right, Mila. Come on up. And let me tell you about Mila. Coach E.J. Kritz reports that from a date of our very first practice, Mila stood out as a leader and great sport on our team. The coach noted that Mila's respect for coaches, attention to detail, passion for the game, and willingness to embrace coaching to improve her skills is exceptional. She never complained when she subbed out of the game or asked to play a position that is not her favorite. She respects her teammates and opponents and shows great team spirit. Coach Kritz concluded his nomination by stating, "This young athlete embodies the values of sportsmanship and everything Mount Pleasant Youth Athletics stand for. It's been an honor to be her coach." Congratulations, Mila Ferguson. Smile. There you go. 3, 2. Perfect. Thank you. Our next recipient is from our tackle football division. Please welcome Ryan Sullivan. Coach John Halliburton wrote in his nomination that although Ryan was not playing very much at the start of the season, he would come to coaches before practice and tell us how excited he was to be there and ready to go. Ryan encouraged teammates passionately, offering tips on other teams and opposing players. He constantly told coaches he was willing to assist the team in any way possible. As the season progressed, Ryan earned more playing time. By season's end, he was playing the entire game on both sides of the ball, all with a smile, cheering on his team, and telling coaches how great it is. Ryan always has a handshake and thank you for each coach and shows the utmost respect for referees and his parents. Congratulations, Ryan Sullivan. Congratulations, buddy. Ready? Good smile. 3, Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Where's Moultrie News when you need them?
Item 6 on our agenda is another happy recognition of the South Carolina 5A Division I State Swimming Champions. Come on up.
All right. Okay, tonight we're excited to announce a special recognition for the Wando girls swim team, led by Coach Marge Trefine. On October 15th, our Lady Warriors swim team triumphed at the South Carolina High School League 5A Division I State Championship, hosted at the University of South Carolina, finishing first with an impressive 354 points and 22.5 points ahead of the second place team. In addition to the team championship, the Lady Warriors also excelled in individual and relay events. Sierra Twomey showcased her talent with a remarkable second place finish in the 100-yard butterfly, and Julia Reed made waves with a second place finish in the 100-yard freestyle. The relay team, comprised of Campbell Kaysen, Nora O'Connell, Sydney Boyette, and Julia Reed, showcased their teamwork and skills, earning second place in both the 200 free relay and the 400 free relay. So congratulations to Coach Trefine and the Lady Warrior swim team for a remarkable season and state championship.
Right here, ready? 3, 2.
Congratulations to you all. So item 7 is to adjourn. So we will adjourn the special town council meeting, and at 6 p.m. we will convene the monthly town council meeting. So this special town council meeting is adjourned.
That's what I would have said.
We could
Moultrie News Messenger.
real fast.
Oh, they went through that? Well, there he is. He usually gets to me chewing.
How we doing?
It's a lot. I mean, it's fine. Like, I feel like I've got it handled. You know, I can't think of it.
No, I didn't see something.
But,
Yeah,
we gotta look at the list.
yeah, but I don't think we'll make it for this year. They still.
If every one of my fellow council members stands up and says, Juan, please run again. We need you. I'll be like, oh, we gotta see this. That's what I said. I said I would wait. You didn't. I mean, they bought the 2 stores. Oh, yeah. So their offices are right there. Right by the right around the corner. Is it really? Oh, no. On Anson. It's just. I've got trying to get some college kids in there right now. Do you need
Really? Are they looking now? Like for when the next semester?
Well, they start in January, starts.
Yeah. See, that's not just how it sleeps for, but it only has 2 bathrooms. You know,
Okay.
Well, I guess confirm that. I'll let you one for the 20th, so I'll confirm that Friday. I'll let you know.
4 bedroom?
So,
I mean, ideally, three people.
but they can get it.
I got a meeting with
Utility included? Plus utility. Plus utilities, right?
Not included.
Yeah,
Good job.
yeah, 400 plus utilities.
Got your work on.
Thank you for all the shout outs on the football trophy.
Oh man.
You know, I do remember specifically that when I came with the original idea, I think you actually came up with this.
I don't know, but it's your idea.
You were very
But that wouldn't happen if you hadn't come to us. Carl, thank you.
CMed students.
did as Christine told y'all,
Yeah, I heard there are a lot of
special
people
PLJ
that
committee, I will not be here next week.
Yes.
I didn't know, I got a week-long sheriff school that I didn't know about, that I have to,
And
there's
it
7
might-
new sheriffs in the state of Sacramento. Apparently it's a requirement
why-
by the
Because
sheriff's
a bunch of them went to
association.
jail.
So I'll be in a week-long school, so that's,
Carl's going to be sitting there like the teacher will be teaching. He's
Right.
I know more
Because
than
I
you.
can't be there. I can't be there that day either, so it might get moved.
I was gonna say, that's why I make sure y'all had a quorum for that.
We might not.
I'll just tell them.
How did it go at the game, the presentation? And did you see the email from the Oceanside? I
I got a lot of emails. I'm so busy, and now I need to repost it. But yeah,
people look.
How's it going?
Good. I got a picture of those kids.
No.
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 I've ever had that.
Now, Laura and Taylor, are y'all all in the I don't know if you heard about that.
Yes, I did. I will give you. We will.
An hour and a half.
I don't know how you did that.
Unfortunately.
I'm just kidding. Y'all don't have to give me a case of beer. I'm joking.
No, you deserve it.
What is your
I know.
I'm
I know.
I'm teasing.
When I heard, I said, what? And Jay, that has never happened before, and we've never had an hour of public comment at a committee meeting. That's not them walking in town. Yeah. We'll get off the hook on that.
It doesn't get to you no matter how you go.
Good evening, everyone. Let me welcome you to our town council meeting for this Tuesday, November the 12th. And before we get started, since Monday was Veterans Day, I'd like for all the veterans in the room to please stand and be recognized and appreciated for your service to our country, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. We will begin with a prayer led by Chaplain Kenesha Gibbs, followed by the pledge by Mayor Pro Tem Whitley, please. Please stand.
May I invite you to pray with me? Dear Lord, we thank you for this day, for this is the day you have made. We thank you for the leadership of this town. We thank you for everyone that's represented here today. We ask that you bless this meeting, give them wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Let's see what approval of the minutes are on, or is it on page 2? Oh, it is. It is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to give this.
It's on page 2. Item 3 is approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second. Is there any discussion? All right. All in favor of the motion to approve the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4 is public hearings, awards, and presentations. And we have 2 public hearings to take place before we get to the award. And I just want to remind everyone I'm required by law when the public hearing portion closes to sound the gavel, but don't start heading for the exit because unfortunately the whole council meeting is not over at that point. It's just a hearing. So item A is a public hearing that has to do with urban entitlement program. Are you going to take that? Yes, sir.
I'd be happy to, Mr. Mayor. This evening, joining us from Charleston County is Griffin Reeder. Mr. Reeder, if you'll come forward.
How are you? So first off, it's great to meet you guys. We are from Charleston County. Gail Carson's with me. I'm a regulatory manager. So just to go through, just to talk about some federal funds that we have. First off, what do? We're fiscal agents with HUD funds, Housing and Urban Development funds, and ARPA, American Rescue Plan funds. And what is urban entitlement? So we have 3 different types of funding. We have Community Development Block Grant, we have Home Investment Partnership Program, and we have Emergency Solution Grants. Those grants do different things. We have legal services, support youth services, shelter, home. We support new construction, rehab, new construction for rent, different things that these funds can do. Emergency Solutions Grants supports rapid rehousing, getting people into housing that are in places they don't belong, and then also shelter. So how do we use these funds? We go through a strict RFA process, or request for application, using a new portal called Neighborly. And so if you're a nonprofit or for a developer, we use this software to apply for these. So we do a consolidated plan every 5 years. Our consolidated plan currently is from program year 2021 through 2025. So that process, a new consolidated plan will be starting soon. So basically what happens in that consolidated plan that's approved through HUD is we have different scoring criteria of essential services. So new construction, rehab, emergency construction and repairs. And so those are just kind of the different things that are higher scores on that consolidated plan. Just an important note that City of Charleston gets their own funding. We work within Charleston County. And another important thing to note is that we have several nonprofits that work within Mount Pleasant. D. Norton, Homeworks, Operation Home, and just those are some nonprofits that work in the area. So as mentioned before, we have CDBG, Home, ESG. Kind of already went over some of this, but just to kind of reiterate, we also do economic development, public services, and let's see, for Home, we do rehab, new construction, and ESG is shelter and rapid rehousing. So who can apply? You have to be a nonprofit and a 501c3. And if you can also be a for-profit, but you have to show an initiative for affordable housing. So our RFA opens on November 25th, and we're going to have two workshops where we go through the process. If you're interested, you can come and ask questions. We go through some of the regulations for each type of funding. And it's important to note that you cannot, the application is due January 6th, and nothing will be accepted after 12 p.m. that day. As mentioned before, you can apply for the RFA through our Neighborly software. We'll have technical assistance within that if anybody's having issues with submitting, but it's a pretty straightforward software and user-friendly. So this is kind of the timeline. So first off, we go through outreach such as this, where we go to town hall meetings and we do outreach for what these federal funds are used for, who should apply, and what some of the initiatives are through Charleston County. Once the RFAs are submitted, we go through the whole process. It goes through a scoring committee where each application will be scored. Once we get those back, we go to a funding recommendation meeting through our board. Once that's approved, it goes to our council and they approve. And in between that, HUD makes us submit an annual action plan. So that annual action plan will be approved. We'll get our award letter from our field officer. And once that process is completed, we will send award letters and initiate the contract process. These are the different participating jurisdictions that we work with. And last, but our Community Development Advisory Board. It's made up of 10 participating jurisdictions as well as 4 non-governmental members. And this is where you can reach us if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you very much. I don't know. Yeah. Huh? Are we? We're not. Okay. Not in a public here. Sorry. All right. If there's anyone from the public here to speak in this part of the public hearing, just a reminder, this does not use up your public comment time that you might have signed up for. This is a separate section. So if you'd like to speak, please come forward, name and address, 2.5 minutes, please.
I'm not as tall as he is. Denise Marie Fugo, Housing for All, Mount Pleasant, 1000 Johnny Dobbs Boulevard, Mount Pleasant. And we're just here to support this process. Michelle Reed serves on their committee, and we're in need of 5,000 affordable housing units in the town of Mount Pleasant. And this is one way to make all that happen. And again, we're supporting police, we're supporting fire, nurses, we're supporting educators, teachers, as well as veterans. So we look forward to working with HUD and the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? If there are no further public comments, this public hearing, which is item A, is closed. All right. Item B is another public hearing. Mr. DeMoro, nope, Ms. Reed will be taking this one for us.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. So this is a public hearing to receive input on a proposal for the First Amendment to Ordinance 19058 for Patriots Annex Development Agreement. And this is for the development known as Patriot Annex. And I wanted to put a picture up there because there's I think a lot of confusion. about the area that we're talking about. So it's situated between Patriots Point Road and the Yorktown. And this is an existing approved development with an existing development agreement that's set to expire. And so the public hearing is for an extension of that development agreement. Of note, I'd like to point out that this is just the public hearing. There will be no action taken for the development agreement tonight. However, there will be a waiver from the 1 year later on the agenda. Again, this is the public hearing for the development agreement extension. And that's all I have, unless you have questions.
All right, thank you very much. Is anyone here to speak to this item in the public hearing, please, for public comment?
Ms. Fugo, you signed up as well.
All right.
Again, Denise Marie Fugo, Housing for All Mount Pleasant, 1000 Johnny Dobbs. And we're in favor of the extension, and we look forward to working with the town and the developer. Of course, we'd like to see a minimum of 25% affordable housing, especially if these are apartments. And I know the town also has a rule for 50% on some of these projects as well. So again, we have 5,000 people, 800 that work for the town of Mount Pleasant in need of housing. And we really, really count on your support because everybody needs affordable housing. And thank you very much.
Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm James Wilson with Womble Bond Dickinson, here on behalf of Patriots Annex LLC. And really here just to answer any questions. I think Ms. Reed basically described well enough what's going on here. There are two items that will come to council in due time. One is a PD zoning. The town planning department asked that in connection with the rewrite of the zoning code that's going on that they were looking to eliminate the existing WGC zoning district. So just to basically convert us from WGC to a PUD and our PD and basically essentially the same terms. And then this hearing tonight is for the amendment to the development agreement that goes with that, which basically extends it, as Ms. Reed described, but also basically swaps out the WGC district with the new PD district. If you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer. Ms. Hunt from the PPDA is here as well. And thanks very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, nobody signed up?
No, sir.
No others. All right. The public hearing, item 4B, is closed. This brings us to item 4C, which is longevity award. Is that you, Ms. Reed? Hello.
Eddie? Can I come up and stand next to me? Well, I don't think Eddie needs an introduction, but for those of you that don't know, this is Eddie Bernard. I am honored to recognize Eddie, our town urban forester, tonight for 25 years of outstanding service. As a landscape architect and certified arborist, Eddie does so many things for our town, from drafting, administering, and enforcing our tree protection, landscaping, and buffer ordinances. He also designs many of the projects you see around town that make our town so beautiful, including some of his most notable: our streetscape along Johnny Dodds Boulevard, Coleman Boulevard, Patriots Point Pocket Park, Whipple Road, and some of the unseen, like our undergrounding at Mathis Ferry Road. Eddie has ensured that Mount Pleasant is a recognized Tree City by winning the Tree City Award consecutively for 22 years. He is an integral part of our Livability and our Take Root program, which involves education and outreach, public planting projects, and to date, this initiative has given away nearly 5,000 trees to our citizens, and Eddie's been at the point and the focus of all that. On another note, he has likely denied twice that number of trees for people wanting to remove a tree in the town in his 25 years. He once told a developer he had to save a dead tree so that it could provide habitat for the red-headed woodpecker. As you can imagine, that didn't go over very well. Eddie has made a lot of friends and a lot of people not so happy if you want to take out a tree in the town. No matter what, the one thing everybody can say about Eddie is that he has a passion for the environment and his knowledge is unsurpassed. I was going to end with a quote. He did a Municipal Association of South Carolina article, and it was called "A Day in the Life of a City Arborist." And Eddie was quoted in there as saying, "Urban forestry is not about trees; it's about people. Anybody with training can do the right things with trees, but you have to make all this work amongst people and all the different points of views. Ownership changes, the politicians change, and of course, the trees don't; they stay." So how you work with all of these people over the years is key to any success. And I think that sums up Eddie perfectly. And I'd like you to join me in congratulating him for 25 years of service.
All right. He didn't have to sit through 25 years of council meetings. So. Thank you very much. Nice presentation. And Eddie, we thank you too from council and me. We thank you very much. And I know personally it's a pleasure working with you. Item 5 is approval of the minutes from the September 10th, 30th, and October 8th meeting, the 2024 special town council meetings, the October 8th town council meeting, and the September 2024 financial statement. Mr.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we approve all of the council meetings that are listed as they are shown, with the exception of the September 10th meeting, where there are 3 Scrivener's errors that need to be corrected. And in discussing with the clerk, she asked that we approve the September 10th minutes with the thought that those 3 changes, which are simply Scrivener's errors, be corrected in the future.
And that's your motion?
And that's my motion.
Do we have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. My understanding is that this is our, with the financial statement, the last meeting, that Marcy Kotov will be here with us. And I just wanted to recognize her for 9 years with the town. When I was first elected to council, she was the most welcoming person, very patient to sit down and explain our town finances, and just don't want her contributions to our town to be overlooked. Thank you.
Thank you. I think a round of applause. And we would add, continuing in our string of how many years of getting the award for transparency and accuracy in account? 30? 36. Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the approval subject to the correction of the 3 Scrivener's errors in the minutes from the 10th of September? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6 is public comment. If you've signed up for public comment, please come forward when your name is called. Give name and address. 2.5 minutes, and there is a clock to help you with that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First speaker, Craig Tozzolino.
Hello, thank you. Comment that I wanted to make was I'm in the midst of I bought my house on Craig Tozzolino, 1431 Glencoe Drive. I bought my house about 20 months ago, and I've been in a 20-month odyssey of noise complaints against a public supermarket, which I share a fence line with. It started where they're doing 3 a.m. Landscaping and using power blowers. It then proceeded, once I talked to the management, it then became 2 a.m. power washing with large engines, all the while not being able to get to sleep. It then turned into replacing air conditioning units, lasting until 2 o'clock in the morning. I started by dealing directly with Publix supermarket, the local management. They were very helpful. I believe they cared, but they're not the ones responsible for when the work is done. It's management that's not even located anywhere near here. I don't know whether they're in Florida or Atlanta. But what they do, the issue that I've been having is no matter what happens, when I call the police, I keep getting the word judgment. Sometimes they decide to shut the work down, and other times they don't. It culminated a few weeks ago where officers came and decided not to shut down work where they were replacing an air conditioning unit on top of the roof, and they were told it was going to be till midnight, which is still after the noise ordinance, between 9 and 7 a.m., and they were doing that work until 3:30 in the morning. 4 large trucks, a crane, removing units off the roof, slamming them onto trucks. I didn't get till bed till 4 o'clock in the morning. I was interviewed by Lieutenant Willis for about an hour, and I also had Lieutenant Simmons come to my house. I'd like to compliment them both. They're wonderful. I believe they care, but it seems that the police are undereducated on the rules, the actual ordinance, and that they're also unprepared to take noise readings when they show up. They claim to have 1 or 2 of these noise readers, and I guess that's my time. It's a lot more than 2.5 minutes, but
thank you.
Allison Shore.
Good evening. My name is Allison Shore, 2220 Culturist Circle in Liberty Hill Farm. I'm here to talk about the garage enclosures for our elevated homes in that neighborhood that many of us have received letters that we're in violation of.
Yeah.
I enclosed
I'm
my
sorry, I
garage.
can't hear you. Could you
can't
put the
hear
mic
you.
closer to you?
Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Do I need a repeater? You're good.
That's good.
Okay. I enclosed my garage, certainly as others have done, to protect our belongings from certainly dirt, pollen, insects. And it also provides safety for me, in particular, as a single woman living in the home. And after reviewing the issue, installing vents as recommended by FEMA would certainly appear to resolve any concerns. I know we've had several conversations with committee members and others in the flood ordinance division. I never saw or signed a non-conversion agreement after following up with KHOV, our builder. They stated that one was not required for certificate of occupancy for our home, so one does not exist for my home. So we would just appreciate your review of this issue and the ordinance, as many of us have requested, and will do so tonight. Thank you.
Roy Trefilio.
Good evening. I'm here with my wife, Carol. We're at 2254 Cultra Circle. We contacted Weeks and Irving's law firm to see if there was a non-conversion attached to our deed. There was none attached. There was no, they couldn't even find a non-conversion letter. If we knew that we couldn't enclose our garage, we would never have built here. We came from Michigan. We vacationed here for years and loved Charleston. And so when we bought our townhouse, the first thing I looked at is the space that we had in our garage. We chose a townhouse because it had a larger garage. It seems like it larger. When we moved down here from Michigan, we had 325 boxes of stuff. So we ended up probably with 100 in storage. I have some pictures here of our storage area that I'd like to leave with everybody. The other thing that I would like to discuss is security. When we bought our townhouse, there was no security. The back door was a garden gate. there's openings in all the slats. And last time I talked, I told you the garage was locked. My grandson took a broom and opened the garage door. Okay, that's how safe it was. So what we did is we put partitions. We screwed the partitions in so that no one could come through. We put a back door. There was no back door. We put a lockable back door for security. And so we thought everything was pretty darn nice. So anyway, to make a long story short, we do not feel that we should enclose our garage. FEMA, I quoted last time saying,
Sir,
FEMA said
your time has expired. I'm sorry. We have to have the same rule for everyone. Your time's expired. That's what the timer was. Just
okay.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna leave this with you.
With the clerk, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
I can take it. Carol Trefilio.
I didn't realize that I was going to speak, so my husband said everything possible.
We need name and address, please.
Carol Trefilio, 2264 Cultura Circle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob Lawrence.
My name is Bob Lawrence, 2217 Cultural Circle, Liberty Hill Farm. Here regarding the non-conversion agreement and garage enclosure issue. We have done significant research into the Town of Mount Pleasant website, plus the FEMA and the CRS websites. Our property does not have a non-conversion agreement on file at the Charleston County ROD as required. We understand there are many homes in Liberty Hill Farm without the non-conversion agreement on file as specified in your rules. This is a violation of your rules. It's also in violation of the fact that the building permit is not accompanied by the non-conversion agreement, and the certificate of occupancy, when issued, is not accompanied by the non-conversion agreement. This also flies in the face of what we see in our research on the websites of FEMA and CRS. We never heard anything about a non-conversion agreement during the buying and building process, 17 months. Nothing from the builder, nothing from the Town of Mount Pleasant. At the recent Flood Resilience Committee last week, your team listened and our neighborhood group concerns and took notes. Thank you very much. Your team indicated they needed to take time to look at the concerns and would get back to us. No timeline was given. We would certainly appreciate some timeline and some feedback at some point. The need of a timeline from you regarding your follow-up information and what the path forward looks like would be appreciated. To work with you, we have offered a garage enclosure alternatives that are detailed in the FEMA and the CRS information. No responses to this point. We will continue to research and follow up regarding the FEMA and CRS information sites. Our next steps will be to make the appropriate FEMA CRS contacts and present our facts and case to them. We have written you letters from the neighborhood expressing our concerns about the many health, well-being, security, safety, and cost issues caused by not enclosing the garage doors space. We received one official position response letter from you that discussed the CRS. The response letter did not address the many other concerns in our letters regarding protecting the health and well-being of our families and the destruction of the property being caused by the humidity, salt air, mold, mildew, pollen, and many, many other critters down there. We are experiencing significant personal costs because of the issues of our property being destroyed and by the weather coming through the garages. As we have been requesting all along, let's work together to resolve this. Thank you.
David Kalishman.
Hello, councils.
My name is David Kalishman, and I'm the HOA president and representative for Annie Laura Lane. I'm here to address the
Can we get
recently
your
completed-
address, please?
Oh yeah, 2135 Annie Laura Lane.
Thank you.
I'm here to address the recently completed Sweetgrass Maintenance and Recycling Facility and request that the city conduct an objective sound study to identify excessive disturbances and determine the most effective, cost-efficient solutions for additional noise abatement. First, thank you for your continued attention to our community's concerns regarding the new facilities off Sweetgrass Basket. Now that construction is complete, it's time to consider additional measures for buffering and protection. We appreciate that you are considering enhancing the tree buffers, but we want to reiterate that we urgently need additional buffering. There's persistent, excessive noise that penetrates our homes, disrupts our lives, and causes significant discomfort. It literally shakes our homes. We invite you to visit our neighborhood at 6:30 a.m. when operations are beginning to experience the daily noise and vibrations firsthand. We've recorded levels exceeding 60 decibels, well above your own ordinance limit. While we understand that the town itself is exempt from this restriction, the impact we are experiencing is neither reasonable nor acceptable. We respectfully ask for your utmost commitment to protecting our neighborhood. As some of you may know, I'm a full-time strategy consultant for the Department of Defense, specializing in data analytics and AI. From this experience, I can tell you that having objective data is essential to finding the right solution. Therefore, that's why we strongly recommend that the city conduct an objective sound test to obtain the reliable data on noise levels and frequencies, which will help identify the primary sources of disturbance. With this information together, we can work together to pursue the most effective, targeted, and cost-efficient noise abatement measures. A sound test will not only clarify the root causes of the noise, but also identify where adjustments might be as simple as repositioning equipment or redirecting sound, avoiding costly, large-scale interventions. Thank you for your consideration.
Joan Spire.
Town Council, Mr. Mayor, Joan Spear, 1848 West Canning Drive. I'm glad Eddie's left the room because this is a tree-related issue and he won't be happy to hear it. But so I just want to recount an experience I had. It started last Tuesday, Election Day. An MPPS truck whirled down my street, Masonboro and Park West, and they were cutting overhanging limbs off of the roadway. So they came in front of my home, and I came out and spoke with the crew chief, Jeff Bumbleis, and advised that I asked him, what was going on, and he said, "We're going to be pruning your tree." And I said, what are the requirements? What is the ordinance? And he said, we can prune 12 feet from over the sidewalk and 14 feet over the curb at the road. And I said, well, that seems extreme. I said, can I call Eddie Bernard and talk to him about it? Can I take care of this pruning myself? And he said no, initially. And so I stood there, and he was, with his bucket truck right, above me with the chainsaw ready. And so finally they actually left. So they returned this morning at 7:50 a.m. with the bucket truck, and he had the chainsaw ready. I again came out and I said, oh, I should back up. The day that happened last week, I called MPPS and talked to two people and got incorrect information from both. They both said that it is 12 feet from the sidewalk and 14 feet from the road. So I checked the ordinance, and in fact it's 7 feet from the sidewalk and 15 from the road. So 42% difference. So I came out again this morning and I said to Jeff, who actually is a neighbor of mine, I said, this is what the ordinance is. And he said, no, I'm going to prune this tree. And I said, let me go into the house and I'll show you the ordinance. I started to go in, and he cut one side off my tree completely. He sidewalled it, which is a very bad pruning practice. And so, you know, he was very unprofessional. I tried to read the ordinance to him. He wouldn't listen to me. He just whistled over me. He said that if I stood in his way, he was going to call the police. He did ostensibly call the police. I don't know if he did or not. And I just want you to know that, you know, if we're Tree City USA and we've got strong tree ordinances, this should not be happening from, you know, our own Mount Pleasant
Thank you.
department. Thank you.
David Quick. Bill Sperry.
Good evening. Bill Sperry, 2248 Cultura Circle in Liberty Hill Farms. I'm here to discuss about the garage enclosures. When my husband and I purchased the townhome, we were told that there wouldn't be an issue with enclosing the garage, which is part of the reason why we purchased the townhome. A couple of things that appealed to us is not only the location, but because of the extra space that we were able to have downstairs to store all my husband's tools and our recreation equipment. Before we enclosed it, we also checked with our flood insurance company, and they said as long as we installed FEMA approved vents, they didn't have a problem with insuring us. So I'm really concerned. Unfortunately, I lost my husband 18 months ago. I moved in a year ago, put the enclosure in, and if I have to remove that enclosure, it makes me really nervous from a safety standpoint. And not only that, just I'm not a critter person. So all the critters that you could find, because I've lived in Mount Pleasant for 14 years, and we found some of those in our Rivertown place before we enclosed the garage. So I ask that you consider and modify and allow us to have the enclosures in our homes. Thank you.
Dan Wharf. And it's tough to read the print here. Forgive me if I've mispronounced your name.
Hi, I'm Dan Ward. 2194 Cultura Circle, Liberty Hill Farms. As you know, we're having problems with our garage doors. I've been there for 2 years, okay? I have gone through 4 different requirements per the Mount Pleasant. First, we had 3-inch louvers with spacing. Then we had 6-inch louvers with spacing with the 40%. Then we said we could enclose as long as we had the vents, and I even had your people come out and visit. And then all of a sudden, you can't have that enclosure. You can't have anything, even with the vents. It's either got to be screening or shadow boxed. I just want to get it straightened out. I've got letters saying that I can be fined $500 a day if I don't get this cleared up, or even put in jail. Okay? I just want it clear. So I know some of the reason that they did it. We are AE flood zone, but I guess in 2021, the town passed an ordinance that to slow the growth and of the town. And when that did that, I guess they went, the AE got evaluated as a VE, and that's where the disruption is. We shouldn't be at the 40%. We should be at AE. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Carol Noki.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Thank you for giving us the time to address you today. My name is Carol Canuck. My address is 1651 Asher Avenue. I hear to them about the garage enclosure, not to beat it to death, but we also were not given any information saying that we would not be allowed to enclose our garage. We bought our home in January and had our garage enclosed, moved here from Wisconsin, totally aware that you have to have some issues or, water issues. So we enclosed our garage, we put in 8 FEMA vents, and we put in what's called breakaway walls, so that they're walls that would easily come down if there was a large amount of water that came through. I have no issue with, if you want us to put in 15 more vents, I'm fine with that. My biggest concern is not having everything moldy. We put a dehumidifier in our garage as well as our house because the humidity here is so high.
We've had neighbors talk about mold in their kids' strollers. It's a serious concern. And piggybacking on that, I had a child that got mold poisoning. It took him 5 years to get better because the mold can get into your internal organs. So thank you for considering working with us to make a workable situation for all of us. Thank you.
Isaac Stappas.
Good evening, Town Council. I'm Isaac Stappas. My family and I reside at 1529 Asher Avenue in Liberty Hill Farm. My wife and I were professional ballet dancers with American Ballet Theater in New York City for 15 years. We traveled the world but had visited Charleston for many years. We fell in love with Charleston and knew one day that we would want to live here and raise our family. We finally made that dream come true and moved here in 2022. I currently work for Roper St. Francis, and we are very active parishioners at St. Clair of Assisi Catholic Church on Daniel Island. We love this wonderful community and take pride in all that it stands for. We were excited to buy an elevated home in Liberty Hill Farm subdivision. We were most excited about the additional space under the home to utilize for our belongings. This was a selling feature that the builder, K. Hovanian, offered, and we were also told we could enclose the space to protect our belongings and offer privacy. This flood ordinance, as written, is bringing myself and my family with a very difficult hardship, as we would never have purchased this home if we could not use it for its intended purpose. With the current flood ordinance guidelines as written, it prohibits us to utilize the space and makes the space completely useless due to weather, safety, security, animal and pest intrusion, as well as the financial losses due to tools and equipment ruined by mold, rust, etc. Most importantly, the flood ordinance has severely underscored our property values, as prospective buyers see this as a foremost undesirable restriction. Our homes are undeniably one of our largest financial assets, and as the as-stated flood ordinance has dealt us a significant financial blow if we wanted to sell our property. This is disconcerting to us, and our neighborhood feels unjust prejudice, as there are many other homes existing in new construction in Mount Pleasant within similar flood zones or worse that have been able to utilize the space without retaliation from the town. I'm requesting the Town Council take the time to study this matter and truly understand the multifaceted hardship it is creating for my family and others. I hope that a revision of the ordinance can be made that satisfies all parties' concerns and bring this matter to a close. Again, we love being an integral part of Mount Pleasant, and I hope today brings forth productive conversation and a possible resolution. Thank you for your time.
That's all I have, sir.
All right. Is there anyone who wants to speak in public comment who did not have the opportunity to sign up? Please come forward, give your name, address, 2.5 minutes, please.
Hi, my name is Laura Langevin. I live at 2229 Cultura Circle in Liberty Hill Farms. My family moved to Oyster Point in 2017. We needed to enclose our garage after 2 years due to damage. We contacted our insurance. They said we were fine to do it. A contractor was hired and a permit was never mentioned. I'm a speech pathologist. My husband's a nurse. We had no idea such a thing existed inside of our home. We later moved to Liberty Hill Farm with the same plan, did the same thing, called insurance, hired a different contractor, was never told that we needed to request a permit. And I would like to add that there are a minimum of 8 contractors who have enclosed in our neighborhood, and I imagine more like 12 to 14 who have never told anybody that they need a permit from your town. As a neighborhood, we began to ask our real estate agents about this new code, and I realized they don't need to know codes, but this is a really big change that you've made. Our agents were totally unaware, none of them knew, and none of them could advise us. And to me, that's a problem when the people I'm going to for information don't have that information, when I'm not the professional. After receiving a letter from the town asking us to comply, we began to investigate what a non-conversion agreement was. We were told by the Register of Deeds there is not one attached to our lot. Our closing attorney says there is not one. And she also said we should never have been given a building permit or certificate of occupancy. We looked at the FEMA CRS Coordinator's Manual. Under the ENL for enclosure, it states the non-conversion agreement must be filed with the deed and other property records, so it will be effective as ownership of the property changes in the future. And again, it's not there. In reading the higher regulatory standards from the CRS Coordinator's Manual, I found the elements A through Q listed, and I see that you picked one, the G, which is enclosure limits. And right beside that in a box, it says a community should not amend its ordinances solely to earn community rating system credit points, nor should it necessarily adopt the examples in the CRS coordinator's manual. Ordinance language should be carefully written to support the community's own goals and the purposes of its regulatory system. And I appreciate you trying to keep the CRS level at a 6, but at this time it's evident that there are multiple problems with this and rules have been violated, from the town's lack of attaching the non-conversion agreement to properties in accordance with the FEMA guidelines to your neglecting to educate the community, in my mind, real estate agents, contractors, and builders who I go to for education on this, who are not able to tell me this. In fact, they're telling me my enclosure looks great. At this time, we'd like to respectfully request that we come to a conclusion we can all live with. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lori Johnson. I live at 1601 Farmers Way, also in Liberty Hill Farm. We moved in a little over 2 years ago. We informed the builder that we intended to enclose our garage. We had them install outlets in the garage so that we could put a dehumidifier in. We enclosed our garage. We did the work ourselves. We enclosed our garage with breakaway boards so that if water were to come rushing under, they would all break away. Some of them have already broken away from different wind events. We would never have purchased that house if we had known that we were not able to enclose the garage. It is a large amount of space. We have very limited storage space inside the home, and so our plan was to store all of our belongings that we weren't presently using down there. We have tools, toys, clothes, shoes, all manner of things that would be ruined in a matter of days if we had to take the enclosure walls down due to the environment here. And we're hoping to work with the town to come to some sort of resolution. As I said, we've been there more than 2 years, and this sort of came out of the blue. It was so important to us that we actually did the work. We delayed moving in after our closing so that we could have the garage enclosed before we moved in, so that we could protect our belongings. So this came out of nowhere. So we would like to work with the town to come up with a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Council, for your time. My name is Paul Langevin. I live at 229 Cultura Circle. I just want to say I appreciate the town and being such supporters of vets. I'm a 20-year Air Force retired officer. I'm also 100% disabled. I have equipment down in the garage that I use daily that I specifically moved into that area to do that with. I just appreciate the council taking a really good look at this. And just remember that there's other things that are going on. I utilize that equipment every day for this, and I appreciate your time and your thoughts on that. Thank you.
All right, if there's no one else, that will close the public comment portion. That's item 6 on the agenda. Item 7 would be consent agenda items. There are no consent agenda items. It moves us to section 8. Planning a new business.
Move to approve items 1 and 2.
Second.
Items 1 and 2. All right, we have a
I'm
motion.
sorry, who seconded?
Laura.
Thank you.
We have a motion to approve items 1 and 2 in a second. We're in discussion. Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a question on agenda item 2, James B. Edwards, rezoning to public institutional. Is this proceeding some remodeling work of that school? And if so, what's the plan?
Yeah, so the plan is that building is pretty old. It's time for an upgrade, but what they're actually going to do is rebuild the entire school. The current zoning is residential. So anytime you do anything to a school in the residential district, you have to get a special exception to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So this is really to kind of make it clean, rezone it to what the comp plan calls for, and then they can start doing this work on that property. So.
Do we have any idea of when that work is scheduled to take place?
I don't think so. I don't know if anybody's here from the school district. I think so. But no, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think they're ready to get going. I think in the next year. So it's my understanding. But.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion to approve items 1 and 2, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
First reading of ordinances 24033, 24034.
Item 3.
Move to deny.
Second.
Item 3, a motion to deny. Okay. Did you get the second?
I did, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion to deny item 3 and a second. We are in discussion.
I mean, I seconded it, so I'll go. My discussion is, I believe this is adding another layer where if an applicant comes in and the DRB doesn't like what they're proposing, I believe we can request for them to make changes and come back anyway. Is that correct?
So right now it's an option. If an applicant or a developer or designer feels like their project is ready, it's good to go, they can apply automatically for final. The DRB, you're correct. DRB can say, we will give you preliminary approval. We will not give you final approval. So they do have the ability to do that. You're correct.
And they can see anything. They're looking at anything over $250,000 and above anyway. Is that correct?
Right. But that preliminary is not required. It's optional. But DRB can make them come back for final. Right. And what this amendment would do is say anything over $2 million in project cost is required to apply first for preliminary, even if an applicant feels like they're ready for final. So
I believe this is about educating the public. I mean, we've heard about educating the public in public comment today. We're going to be possibly coming up with some ways to educate the public a little bit better and give people the option to come in. I think it's our job to educate the public, so I don't know that we need to do 2 phases of this personally. So that is why I was a second on Ms. Whitley's motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So my understanding is that this agenda item came to us from a DRB member following the Queens Court and the Erkman Drive pool projects, both projects that the land use for those areas was entitled. The reason I'll be voting to deny this is I feel it gives people, neighbors, false hope that they can kill a project when it gets to that point where the usage of the land is already set. I think it's important for people to realize that the design review board doesn't judge the use of the land. They merely apply the design standards and come up with the best possible configuration of the land. I agree with Mr. Icofano. I think where we need to educate the public further is when things come to planning commission, which is where the usage really comes into play. And so my fear is that if we require these projects to guarantee come before the DRB on 2 occasions, that it creates a false hope for the neighbors. And it also politicizes the DRB process, and so that's why I'm supporting the denial of this ordinance. I think that the DRB certainly has it within its jurisdiction to delay ruling on a project until it meets the appropriate design considerations.
Am I reading this correctly that the Planning Commission did recommend approval, as did the Planning Committee of Council?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Both recommended approving. Okay.
I think we were. For me, I recommended approval at that time because I did not have I did a little bit more research into this and came to a different conclusion.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Yes.
We talk about public input. I know they can't change the use, but I mean, how useful is it for the public to talk about design? We have design standards that I see often don't seem to be followed. I don't know if this would be an opportunity for the public to have DRB stay within our standards, and I mean it's within their purview not to do what our design standards are, but I know they can't change it, but I don't know how much input the public might have when it comes to the way things look. Do they have that? I mean, is that something that the public should have a say with? I don't know. That's just a rhetorical question, I guess, and a consideration.
Do we know what the vote was of the planning commission on this?
I think it was unanimous. I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay.
I don't remember if we had all 9 members there, but it was unanimous.
Okay. Any other comment? Yes, sir.
Just to piggyback, and I'm on the planning committee, but I think the missing piece that they kind of flew over my head is that DRB already has it within their purview, that if it's a large project that they feel like needs multiple looks and things, they already have it within their purview to do that. So it's not like they have to make a snap judgment of a yes or no on that first and final reading. So they kind of already have the right to do that. And if a project comes and it meets all of the design standards and it's ready to be approved on the first reading, I don't have an issue with that.
Any other comments, questions, or discussion? Okay, so the motion is to deny, so a yes vote is to deny, a no vote is not to deny. So all in favor of the motion to deny, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
3 opposed? Did I miss anybody on here? Or are you opposed or you're opposed? Okay, so motion carries 5-4.
I'm sorry, can I get the opposition? I have Mr. Chapman,
Hyatt,
Ms. Hyatt,
and Mr.
Mayor
Santos.
Haney, and Mr. Santos. Thank you.
Motion carries 5-4. Okay. Item number 3 is request for a waiver for the 1-year waiting period for the submittal of
Move
Patriots
to approve.
Annex.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and we have a second, and as this council's by ordinance representative on the Patriots Point Authority, I just want to say this has been through iterations. It is at a much better iteration than it ever was before. Hats off to those involved. And we are not approving or disapproving. We're only amending the, well, they will be amending the, that was in the public hearing, but moving forward with the new plan development there, which was approved and entitled by this council at least 5 years ago. Right. Okay. And I will be supporting this approval. Any comments? Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
Mayor, just a quick procedural question for Ms. Reed. That we're dealing with just the waiver tonight, and revisions to the development agreement will go through the Planning Commission process.
It'll follow the same process. The Planning Commission doesn't review or take action on the development agreement. They will look at the plan development. What you will see at the December Planning Commission meeting is a PD proposed to come along with this development agreement to replace that waterfront gateway. And so, but you will see it all come later in the next few months.
Okay, after it goes through the Planning Commission. Okay.
Okay. The motion is to approve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, that concludes that section A. Section B, final
Move for
reading.
approval.
Second.
Have a motion to approve for the annexation of a half-acre tract of land on Venning Road. We have a motion second. Yes, sir.
I just have a quick question. Why was this not on the consent agenda?
So when there's only one potential consent agenda item, we simply put it under old business.
Okay.
But you can consent now. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Final reading, ordinance number 24032.
All right, section 9, committee action items. There are no committee action items. Section 10, council business, new business. And who is going to take this? Mr.
Good evening,
Morris.
Mr. Mayor, members of council. Tonight you have before you a proposed ordinance revision regarding Chapter 152, flood damage prevention. This primarily relates to one item, which is the requirement for generators.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Sorry.
We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. And I do want to add, just for clarity, this has nothing to do with the public comments that we heard earlier. That is a totally separate issue.
That's correct. It does not change the enclosure requirement.
Okay.
What does it have to do with generators? I apologize.
We want any generator to be above the design flood elevation. We also are going to exempt pool equipment, which is generally pumps, to not have to be elevated to that level.
Any further discussion? All in favor? I'm sorry.
Just a quick question. As I'm flipping through this, is everything that's underlined the new language?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You good?
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else? All in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
First reading, ordinance number 24036.
All right, turning the page brings us to item 2. This is an ordinance to amend section 4021, and this offers a waiver of recreation fee charges for fully disabled veterans, and I will turn it over to the author of this.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to make a motion to approve this.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We're in discussion. Would you like to talk some more? Yes.
Yes, sir. And this being the day after Veterans Day, it's very appropriate. As a veteran myself, too, I had many veterans approach me, discuss the opportunity of possibly providing a waiver for all fees for recreation programs for any of our veterans who are 100% disabled. When we serve, we make many sacrifices, and to the point where some health or for physical well-being is affected to that point of 100%. And I think having the opportunity to have full access to our recreation programs will benefit them both physically and mentally. And I think it's a great program, and I hope we improve this for our veterans.
Thank you. Thank you for proposing this. Any other comments?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. And thank you to Councilman, should we say, Sheriff-elect Ritchie for bringing this to our attention. Recreation really builds community, and I think it's a great way to honor those who have made tremendous sacrifice for our country, to waive the fee and hopefully encourage them to participate in our many recreation programs here at the town. And my hat's off to you for this idea. I think it's a small but important token of our appreciation. So thank you, Mr. Ritchie.
Ms. Whitley.
I just have one question. Does it include senior center?
It does.
It does. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. All in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
First reading, ordinance number 24037.
Item 3 is a resolution to amend and republish the Town of Mount Pleasant Human Resources Guidelines. I guess you were going to walk us through it. Thank you.
Yes, Mayor. Good evening. The proposed changes are what was reviewed last week by the HR committee, who recommended approval. They also had some questions, so those have been addressed, and that information has been added to the slides. So briefly, the HRGs had not been updated since 2020, so we undertook this effort. And then the definition of family, we were looking at updating. The proposed definition is in the box there, and the changes that are proposed are in bold. This would only affect the HRG provisions, and the specific ones that would relate to are anti-nepotism, sick leave usage, and bereavement leave. It does not affect the health insurance. It doesn't affect retirement.
I'm going to move to approve with one change. If I could make the change, would you move to approve?
I believe we need a motion and then done amendment.
Motion to approve.
Second. Okay. All right. We have a motion to approve and a second. Now you have floor.
And my motion to change would be on the bereavement leave to, and we discussed this, is to go to the current 5 years instead of the 7 on the parent, step-parent, parent-in-law.
I think you skipped ahead of the
Nope, to go to the current of the 5, correct. That is my motion for the change and not the 7 years.
Okay.
Oh, 7 days. I
Can you
apologize.
restate that?
Yes, 7 years, 7 days. I've got a problem with 7 years. My motion is to change that to the current to leave it at the current 5 work days for the parent, step parent, parent-in-law, sibling, step sibling.
This is that second line at the bottom
That's
of the
correct.
screen.
Yes.
So instead of
Leave it at the current 5 days instead of moving it to the 7 days.
I see that now. Okay.
That gives a full work week with bookending the weekends as well.
Leave at 5. Okay, so that this is an amendment. So is there any? I believe we had a second. I lost track. No,
Yep.
we don't have a second yet.
Yep.
Okay, now we have a second. Thank you. All right. So we have a second to leave that at 5 instead of upping it to 7. And just to be clear, this only applies to that middle category in that box. Is that correct?
Correct.
The others would be moved. Okay. So
Mayor
any?
Haney, I just have a clarification on the motion. Are you approving all of the guidelines or just this particular section?
There's a motion to approve the entirety.
Thank you.
But
and
this
the
is an
amendment-
amendment.
The
Yeah.
amendment affects
With
this
the amendment.
issue on the screen only.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
So we'll be doing 2 votes.
Right. At least. Yeah. Okay. So is there any discussion on the amendment of leaving that one where it is? Did I hear it? Okay. So all in favor of leaving that as stated at 5, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So it is amended. Now we are in discussion on the motion to approve. If we can go back to the front, and I've spoken to 3 or 4 other council members today on the part about definition of family. I do not understand what a partner is, what the legal threshold for being a partner is, how many partners somebody can have, how long a partner relationship has to be, and what the relationship is. So I just don't understand.
You got that, or you want me to get that?
Go ahead.
We talked in length of this. Partners basically is just changing the name from. You still have to be legally married, and you have to show proof of that marriage. So it's just changing the word spouse to partner. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Why?
Why?
Yes, seems silly.
That's a wonderful HR question, but we're at the guidance of HR and HR legal at this point, right?
It's all subject to being legally married under the law of some state. So different states define it different ways. It was to be more inclusive, but ultimately it has to be a legally recognized marriage. So what is referred to as a spouse, and we could leave it at spouse, and we could add
Motion
legal
to amend
recognition.
to leave the definition as is a spouse.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second
All right, Ms. Chapman.
it. And
Would you like the
question.
floor? Yes.
Yeah, the
Unless you-
question I had was, you talked about different definitions of different states. We're in the state of South Carolina. This is going to be in the town of Mount Pleasant within the state of South Carolina. So whatever the definition is in the state of South Carolina would be the one we would adopt.
But I got married in Kentucky. I think we still recognize my marriage here. I think that's the point, is that people got married in other states and their states are still legal. Their marriages are still legally recognized here.
Yes.
But I still don't understand why, if it's a legal marriage, why it's a spouse. I don't know why.
And that's the motion to leave it
Yeah.
as spouse. Yes, sir, Mr. Round.
That's why I made the motion too, because I actually think changing the language makes it ambiguous.
Right.
Whereas no, you have to be married. If the language is partner, people can define that in many different ways. And so if you have to be legally married, just leave it as spouse.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Question, what about a common law marriage or a common law relationship? Does that constitute a partner?
So common law is no longer recognized in South Carolina.
But my understanding is there's existing ones that continue to be recognized in this state. And so I guess my question is, if you are in a common law relationship that predates that definition change in South Carolina, would you still be entitled to, the bereavement leave, the sick leave usage, that sort of thing?
So
I'll ask a legal
get
point
married.
of order. There are legal requirements for a common law marriage. I mean, the word is marriage, right? But you don't just pick up the phone one day and call somebody and say, we're partners, aren't we? Right.
Right.
So a common law marriage, there is a way to prove it is in fact a marriage.
There is, and what I would say to all these various questions is I understand, and spouse, I believe, is all-encompassing. I guess I also understand the wish by some entities to put partner there, but in fact it does probably lead to more questions than answers, and I believe this amendment is appropriate for that purpose. The state's going to recognize and are required to recognize under federal law marriages, and that's how we're going to interpret it. So
Right.
I do understand these questions, but I also think that if it is going to be required to be federally recognized, we're going to have to follow those rules anyway. So that would be my answer to all the questions.
Does that, Mr. Brownson, does that answer your question?
It does. Just to reiterate that would, the term spouse or partner would encompass an existing common law relationship.
I believe it will, yes, sir.
Okay.
And again, we don't. I don't believe we need the term partner as the amendment is proposed, but I guess I'm playing lawyer. I wouldn't be concerned about it either way.
Okay. Any other discussion on this is an amendment to leave it as saying spouse rather than part. And let me ask, you don't just mean leave spouse in, you mean remove partner. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That motion carries. I have a question. Does this motion, the big motion, the primary motion, does it involve the change of the surviving spouse insurance? Is that a different proposal, or is that included? Is that further down in the slides like it was on what we were emailed? Of changing the rate that a surviving spouse pays for continuing health insurance.
So that is addressed later, and it's just regarding the rate.
So that's not part of this motion.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Questions on
No,
that later.
It's part of the entire motion. Yeah, I made a motion to approve.
Okay. So
yeah, we can. Yeah.
So can we go to that, please?
Yeah. I mean, I can start. So I made a motion to approve the agenda item. So that's we were talking about the entire agenda item. This is what is happening here is that currently, if I'm a town employee and I am married, we pay $500 for health insurance. If my spouse, who's not a town employee, passes away, my health insurance will go to $90. Now, this is all the way up to the age of 65, because at 65, we force Medicare on the retiree. So this is a very small window that we're talking about. What this is proposing is that if I were to pass away, that the spouse, who is not a town employee but is my spouse, would be able to then take over my rate of $90 a month until that Medicare would take over at 65. So I think the window that we're talking about here is extremely small, and the opportunity for that happening. Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. But suppose, so like I mean, I don't wish ill on you, John, but you have a child that's still at home. If you kick the bucket now, and your spouse would still have to pay the family rate, is that right?
Yes. Yeah, but to be retired in the town of Mount Pleasant, you've got to equal 90 years. Like, you've got to equal age plus service.
This is for retirees.
Only.
Okay, so this is not for
No, this is
this
retired.
is not for us. This
That's
is for
correct.
retired.
This
Okay.
is retired.
Thank
only.
you for clarifying that.
Yeah,
Okay.
But if my wife is watching, she may be wishing that. So it's possible. No, this is retired only. So you've got 60 plus 30 years would equal 90. So you get 60 years old plus 30 years of service to even be on our, is that correct? Is that correct?
Right, you have to
Yeah.
reach the
Okay.
rule of
Total
90
of
to
Rule
retire.
of 90 to retire.
So can we go to, is this it right here?
Not everyone's
Three
on the
different
rule of
categories.
90.
Oh. Retirees.
Rule of 90 is new.
So the
27 years was the original.
what we're going by the SCRS, you have to qualify under their definition of retirement. So before 2012, if you retired, there wasn't the rule of 90. So we kept those retirees that they can have insurance for life. Now that number is capped and it's progressing. The next is class 2, and class 2 does not have the rule of 90, but after that initial that gets to keep theirs for life, everyone else moves to Medicare when they are eligible for it at age 65. So that's limited as far as age, but it applies to all the rest of the retirees.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Wood.
I guess my other question then is $90 a month is, I mean, it's really, really cheap, which is fantastic on the one hand. But my question is, the majority of, I mean, I think like something like 90% of medical expenses happen the last 10 years of life, right? So by doing this, how much are we costing the town? Is there any estimate
we
of
don't have
that?
anyone that qualifies for this right now. But we're probably talking less than a half dozen people in 5 or 6 years. I mean, this is as small as this is. What could it cost the town? That's tough to answer because anyone in any age could cost us a tremendous amount of money.
It's true.
In fact, the biggest expense we have medically isn't the day-to-day doctor's visits; it's prescriptions. And so there's no way to answer the question, and it's just for those who are surviving. We don't offer a middle plan. It's either a single plan or it's the family plan for retirees. So if they're surviving, should they stay with the family plan even though it's just them, or should they be able to revert to what a working employee would be able to revert to?
Okay, thank you so much. That makes sense.
So, yes, you have the floor.
So
This is a fixed dollar amount?
It is, unless it's changed. And we review those things yearly on what the premiums will be.
Okay, that's because I know premiums go up
Yes.
with time. So this is not
Correct.
really fixed. It's based on the plan that's set up.
Correct.
Okay.
So wasn't clear, and I think I heard that this is you only pay that rate if you're the surviving spouse. If you met the retirement, okay, first you had to meet the retirement description, then you have to be surviving, and then you only pay it until you're eligible for Medicare.
Right. So there was only a very, very small group where the worker and their spouse received medical care for life. And that the word Christie uses, that group is progressive.
Right.
Father Time is undefeated. And so there's the rest of the group where some people fit in, where at 65 they're off and have to go a different route. So this wouldn't even apply to them. So we don't have anyone now, and as time goes on, this will become even rarer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that answers that question. The other is, how did we arrive at $90? I mean, I just don't understand how we go from $560 to $90. Was that a calculation?
That's
or?
what the employee rate
Yeah,
is.
so-
That's
so-
the employee rate. They're just taking over the employee rate. Is what
And
they're
it
taking over.
progresses. So that's the single rate. And then there's a +1 and other things. And so that's the rate it is now for an employee.
For an employee. Okay. That makes more sense than it did
It's a
before.
great benefit, and many people who are employed by the town, it's like should want to be recruited to come work for the town of Mount Pleasant
Right.
because that is an excellent benefit, that healthcare.
Hard to qualify for it.
It's
but, yeah. Okay.
No, I
Very- yes, sir.
I got a question for you. Depending on the tier that we fell under, obviously, and I'm under a different tier, where I'm under that tier where when my wife gets on, becomes 65, as do I, but the town will pick up our Part A, whatever it is for our Medicare. If I, as the employee, would pass before, would she continue receiving that benefit?
Yes, that's unaffected by this change.
Okay.
This is for people who were in that first group that were able to hold on to the benefit.
Got
The town paid medical insurance until they pass.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right.
And
So we've had the two amendments, leaving the one at 5 years and leaving spouse and removing
5 days.
That's what I'm saying. 5 days is contagious. 5 days. 5 years of agreement. And then leave the term spouse and remove partner just for clarity's sake. Are there any other proposed amendments? There being none, is there any further discussion on the primary motion? Okay, all in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And there being no further business before this council, we stand adjourned. We got it cleared up. That cleared it up. That cleared it up because we took partner
I don't know.
out.
That's weird. And spouse isn't even gendered.
I know.
Like,
No.